To start, we have Island Hop. The game is a very basic platformer. I started out by following along with the instructions and getting everything added in from the workshop. I did some basic level design and then went on to playtesting. At first, I was really struggling with GDevelop as I had never done anything close to game design. I had some technical difficulties at one point where my sprites had corrupted and I had to start re-importing them. But eventually I got used to the software and I was able to work out the issue. I participated in playtesting with my fellow peers and they gave me some really valuable feedback. Although I had taken the basics that we had learned and made a basic level, they suggested I should add my own flair, and I decided to create some custom objects like spikes and jump pads, and I played around a lot with the events until the player could interact with them as intended. I also figured out how to make the game reset when you died, and overall it was a good introduction to game design. I would have liked to have added more of my own sprites to make it more my game, but I'm still happy with the result. Not enough for me to use it for Part B or the next assignment though. This is where I really started to enjoy making the assignment. This was Galactic Blast. I used the skills I learned from the last game to swiftly put together the basics of this one from the workshops. I then worked to create custom assets like a ship to act as the player, setting up points for where the blasters would be to destroy asteroids. I ran into the same issue of quote-unquote corrupting assets and figured out that it was actually just the file locations were in different spots than they should be, which was causing the issue. And after fixing that, I just moved everything and it quickly was able to find the assets and use them for the game. From there, I continued on to playtesting, and although the game functioned as intended, some playtesters gave me some good feedback, and they said it didn't really have any kind of goal, and that it felt a bit too janky to be super enjoyable. With that, I decided to experiment with multiple scenes and created a game over scene. I also added a score bar that would add up for each asteroid you blew up. And finally, I switched up the movement and created a system that I felt was much more enjoyable, where the player could propel forwards and turn, and would have to use the force of propulsion to, I guess, go against the previous propulsion. You'd like shoot, turn, and then, or you'd fly, you'd turn, you'd then fly in the other direction to like slow down and go forward. The only thing I'd really change is making the asteroids look better, but I will be using this for Part B of this assignment. Finally, we have my racer game, Don't Become Roadkill. I'll admit I did struggle with this one at first, as I was struggling with the workshop content and getting it all implemented, especially with the traffic. I found it a bit difficult to get all that working, but eventually I did, and I ended up deciding on a theme and a sort of approach of how I wanted the game to be, and I ended up creating some custom assets to make the game a little more unique, creating a game where the kangaroo is bounding up a highway dodging cars. Playtesters saw my concept and vision and gave me some really valuable points, and I was able to use the events from the workshop for this game and keep the cars. But they also suggested that the kangaroo at this stage still mimicked the original car from the workshop, and that I should make him a little more kangaroo-ish. So I decided to overhaul his movement for more of a Frogger-inspired jumping between lanes to dodge cars. Again, I kept experimenting with different scenes and created title scenes and buttons to like start and replay and all these different things. Although eventually I had the game working and up to standard, I do not want to use it for my next part of the assignment, as it was very, very hard. Thank you for watching. This has been my assignment.